Johnny, I'll throw something else at you too that I want Charles to speak on. This is one of the questions that I was going to ask immediately. Charles, what percentage of players don't have the same spike in every slot of their shoes?
Oh, good grief. That is, there's definitely 25 to 30% that don't.
So wait, you guys are telling me that there's guys that change out they have different spikes in front and different spikes in the back and the side. There's a whole
Yes, sir.
thing?
Cor- Correct. Yes.
No. Episode 301 of the Fully Equipped Podcast. We are here with my guy, Jake Morrow, over there in his absolutely incredibly golf nerdy office. And then we have our friend, Charles Woodward from PGA Tour, amongst a bunch of companies. But
Yeah.
we just go through the list, Charlie, of exactly what it
Uh,
is that you go through them all.
okay. Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. I have 7 brands that I represent. Softspikes. I have Bushnell Golf. I have Shade and Eyewear. I have Iomet Grips. I have Birdie Coffee Company, and I have Y Golf.
So
So
that's
they
we
keep me
got
busy.
we've got
7.
grips, training aids,
Uh-huh.
sunglasses, coffee, spikes,
And
rangefinders,
rangefinders. Yeah.
and what was the other one?
That should have been it. Oh, Stitch Golf. Goodness gracious. Yeah,
Stitch.
Stitch
Yeah,
Golf.
yeah. Polo.
I,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
mention that.
Your shirt. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. You're a busy man out there.
I am. Yes, but I love it. So it's really great.
You're usually the guy out there that I'll be out there and I'm trying to do stuff with you. And I'm like, hey, Charles, when are you showing up to the course tomorrow? And you're like, I don't know, 4:30, 5 o'clock. And I'm like, yep, nope, not happening. Sorry, bud.
Yeah, there's quite a routine that I have going on.
Okay, just for the people that don't understand because we've had a few reps on here. Kellen's been on here, Marshall's been on here, Adrian's been on here. But everybody's path to the tour is different. Now, you have a very unique path because of the amount of companies. So you didn't like come up as a Callaway fitter and become a fitter on tour. Like, you have more of a business that you're running out there on tour, which is a little bit different. So do me a favor, explain to everybody, one, how you got out there in the first place, and two, how you amassed so many different brands to do what you do.
Yeah, so I'll try and do the quick version of this. When I was in high school, I moved from a place called Bel Air, Maryland, to a place called Cumberland, Maryland, which is out on the western side, which most people don't even know where it is, even if you live in Maryland. But so at a high school track meet, I met a girl who was at a rival high school, happened to be a school in West Virginia, which was only about 20 minutes away from where we were in Maryland. I think I met her one more time over the course of my senior year, and we only talked for a couple minutes. But it's a small town; everybody knows everybody. Fast forward, graduated high school, was in college, was actually an assistant pro at a golf club in Maryland. She went to the retail apparel store that my girlfriend, now wife, was working at the time. And at that time, whenever you showed your license, you had to get their ID to verify that's who they were. So they started talking about where they were from, and she's like, "Wait a second, I think I know who your boyfriend is." And she's like, "My husband works for Softspikes, and they have openings in their sales side. You should send in your resume to them." Well, about a year and a half went by. I hadn't done anything, and I actually bumped into the two of them in the mall. Talk about a blessing. And he's like, "Are you going to send your resume in or what?" And I was like, absolutely. So I sent my resume in. I worked inside sales at Softspikes as like a territory manager for about 3.5 years. So basically, what we would do is we'd call on golf courses across the country within our territory, and we were assigned distribution partners that we worked with directly, and we were kind of like the middleman to them, to golf courses and the distributor. Any problems that would arise, but we'd also help the outside reps that were hired by the distribution partners with their territory, calling courses, talking to golf professionals and locker room managers, could be a GM that did all the buying or a buyer, merchandiser. And I sold spikes. So 3.5 years goes by, I get promoted. We had some senior management changes, and the new CEO at the time, Joe Zeller, called me into his office and said, "Hey, Charles, would you like to go down the sales path? I mentor you and you maybe take my job one day, or would you like to help us out with our tour activities?" And I kind of knew when he asked me that I wanted to go ahead and do tour stuff, but I needed to go home, talk to my wife, think about it for a couple of days. Went back in, and this was about 2005 when I started actually going to tour events pretty frequently. I start out, it was a nationwide tour. I do about 8 or 10 events. And the whole goal with that was to get the top 25, make sure they're using Softspikes on the bottom of their shoes, and graduate them to our PGA Tour rep. So I was doing Corn Ferry Tour then, or nationwide tour, probably about 6 to 8 LPGA events. And then I'd kind of fill in here or there and do maybe 5 or so PGA Tour events. Fast forward to 2010, 2011 timeframe, Softspikes was actually being purchased by a group of investors, and they were just basically trying to clean up their books. And my boss said to me, "Hey, Charles, what do you think about becoming an independent rep? You keep Softspikes as your first client. You can work for as many other companies as you wish, as long as they're not competing." And talked to my wife again. She's like, "Yeah, let's do this." And that's when I became an independent rep, and I was working, full time. Because back when I first started in 2005 doing tour activities, I still had some sales responsibilities, but those went away and it was just full time tour. So I've just kind of gradually brought in brands as one, people either reached out to me or maybe a connection that I had in golf said, "Hey, I know this company that is looking for a rep. Why don't you, have a conversation?" And I've actually tried to be somewhat picky from the standpoint of, one, you want to love the product that you represent. Two, you want to keep your flexibility so you can be anywhere a player needs you on site, whether that be, locker room, driving range, go out on the course with them. So that's kind of what's happened. I picked up Stitch Golf in 2013. Bushnell was an addition that I just picked up last May. Shade and Eyewear, this is my second year with them. Y Golf, my second year with them. Birdie Coffee, this will be coming up my second year with them. So it's been quite amazing.
So it's funny, we get the question quite a bit, like either through social media or whatever, about how you break into the business, or how do you end up on tour. And the funny thing is, everybody out there has a different story, right? Everybody else, everybody just kind of ended up on a PGA Tour range for multiple different reasons. But it's always kind of fun to hear how the dots line up to, like, I met this person, I did this, I finally decided to send my resume. But isn't it funny if you look at life, like, it's just so funny if you look at it from like 35,000 feet. It's like, if this guy hadn't have done that, or if he hadn't have shown up, if his wife wanted to go to Target instead of that mall, what would Charlie be doing? You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
absolutely. Hmm.
and I ask myself that all the time. I'm always like, it's funny, like, if I can go back in my career, um, like, if I didn't reach out to a certain person at a certain company, for example, like if I'm going to take the Callaway job, if I don't interact with Jeff Newbarth during the Peyton Manning match that they did, because he was producing it and I needed to get, Peyton Manning's What's in the Bag or whatever. If I don't interact with that guy when that thing goes down, he doesn't know who I am. Like, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but we don't start interacting with each other. And that's what sort of got him on to hire me at Callaway. But that's one thing. If that doesn't happen, then who the hell knows what happened? I mean, that's why sorry I had to bring that up. It's always funny how this stuff works, like the randomness of getting on a range that's very, very hard to get on and work on on any tour, is always amazing. So one, I didn't know you've been out on tour that long, which is impressive because that's, I mean, the fact you're still
Yeah, I didn't
alive
either.
is a miracle because of the craziness
Yes.
that happens out there. But as far as the industry is concerned, like you've been around, you've seen trends go up, down, left, right. I guess the benefit to you is you're not in the club business per se. Like you're in the you're in the parts and the equipment business. I'll call it. But like just to
Mhm.
see the first time you go on a PGA Tour range until today, it's been 20 years. Like how much has it changed since you first got out there? The ecosystem itself.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the biggest change is the amount of team members that players have with them. When I first came out, there was nobody using launch monitors really. I mean, maybe a little bit of TrackMan, but it was a very slow process. And then, you might see a swing coach here or there, but I mean, guys have their managers, they have swing coach, mental coach. It's truly remarkable. And then even the way things are handled behind the scenes, with how equipment companies interact with players, and the different reps from different companies has changed too. So there's not as much interaction, I feel like, with you know maybe, I'm trying to think what a good example would be, but maybe the shafts, for instance. So if you have shaft X that a player is using and he wants to go and start testing, the rep for that particular shaft might provide the shafts, but he might not necessarily be involved in the process of being right there with the player when they're
Yep.
doing the testing.
90% of the time that's the case. I'll say 80% of the time that's the case.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's funny, just to your point, is you start bringing up the amount of people on a pitch, like even in my function, even in Jake's function, for example, media or sports marketing people from the companies were never on. There was never a John, like in 2005, 2010, to the hell 2019, there was no tour content managers, there was no Instagram personalities out there, and there was none of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like you go to a PGA Tour range, there was a lot of people, but like the amount, if I'm going to use, I'm not going to name the name, but it's a Callaway staffer, and at any given point, he's got one, two. I mean, hell, he's got 4 or 5 people that travel with him every week, and these are independent to him. These aren't on payroll from a bunch of different players. These are just that one player. Like they're just showing up to be of service to, and that doesn't count for the weeks that the equipment companies want to do more work with that player, or they want to try something new. So at any given point, depending on the week, a player could have 20 people around them, testing product, whatever. So it's funny to hear that the times have changed so much from 2005. Like, I remember having a coach. If you're a PGA Tour player and if you had a coach that traveled with you week to week, that was like a big story. That was like the Butch Harmons and the David Ledbetters and the like. Not everybody had a coach. There wasn't the guy from Brad Pullen, for example, Sam Burns' coach. A guy like him isn't making that many trips out 15 years ago.
Hmm.
Maybe, you know what I mean? Like maybe 6 times a year or something like that, you'd see it. So, okay, and I did want to take a moment to interrupt this show to bring you attention. Something we're very proud of is our T-commerce. If you want a logoed, fully equipped golf.com logoed merchandise from Grayson, G4, multiple companies. If you want the cool stuff with the fully equipped logo, go to our T-commerce section of the site. A lot of cool stuff in there. Obviously, I don't have any of it on right now. I just didn't have time to put all that stuff on, but there's some cool logoed stuff in there, and I'm working tirelessly to liven it up even more than it already is. So make sure you guys check that out if you want all the fully equipped golf.com branded logo gear. T-commerce is where you'd find it. Let's get back to the show. Okay, I know I do want to talk about, because I don't know anything about spikes. I'm going to be the first person to tell you. This is Jake's lane. He started asking me about spikes and if I wore spikes and whatever. I literally just put on shoes and wear them. So like Jake, I want you to just for the fully equipped audience, like dig in with Charlie a little bit about what you
Yeah.
guys know about the performance of all that product, and I'm gonna let you guys cook for a second because I don't know goddamn thing.
Yeah, it was good timing. I was actually before you and I were like, hey, we should have Charles on. I was texting Charles about an article that I'm working on talking about spike usage on tour, and um, statistically, Softspikes is the most dominant brand of equipment on the PGA Tour. If you take it down like by player, it beats out the usage of Fujikura Ventus, which is kind of insane. That's going to be my like number one point in there because that's how most people look at it. Um, and then I was texting some other people about like just usage in general, and then there's some really funny correlations that I'll call out for you, Charles, if you want to just
Hmm.
either say yes or nod your head so you don't get the heat yourself. But uh,
Sure.
there's a there's a direct there's a direct correlation between spikeless usage and secondary field events, which I find hilarious. And then there's also a direct correlation between money earned and spike usage. And then I was talking, Charles, about his interactions with players, which I think is more the focus of us talking to you right now, is like, there's tons of questions around that. How many times do players change their spikes versus how many players just get a new pair of shoes? Because I know that there's a lot of guys out there that like I know one of them. I asked him, I was like, hey, how much do you change your spikes? And he was like, I just get a new pair of shoes. And I kind of looked at him like, but that's half the point of spikes is you can replace them. And he was like, yeah, I just get a new pair of shoes. So talk to us a little bit about that, like your engagement with players and kind of what your day looks like on tour, because I think it's fascinating actually. One, because you wake up and you're there on course, I think before the superintendent is every day. But two, because your day is super interesting because you front load a lot of your work, but then you're interacting more than I see anybody else interact throughout the rest of the day as well.
Yeah, so trying to figure out how to get this right in the order, but um, I'd have to say, from a cleat standpoint, um, players like, okay, so some players, like you were talking about the one player that said he just gets a new pair of shoes. Absolutely. And probably I would say there's about 10 to 15% of the guys that actually use the stock cleat that comes on the bottom of their shoe. But the other 85%, or 75%, because they got a few spikeless in there, and then you have a few that wear metal completely. They use a different cleat that comes in that shoe. They want something that's more high performance, that has better traction, maybe built for. I mean, our new cleat, the Torflex Pro, we actually built it for higher club head speeds. And what happens is, in the beginning of the year, when we're out on the West Coast swing, you will have guys that maybe they changed contracts and they were wearing one pair of shoes last year, and then now they're in a new pair of shoes from a different manufacturer. They can't always use the exact same cleat that goes in it. So that's
Yeah,
something that. Yeah,
real
go
quick,
ahead.
Charles. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's Adidas. It's Adidas. It's Adidas. It's Adidas. Adidas causes tons of problems in the spiked footwear community because they refuse to change insert platforms. They also do not let some players wear the spiked version of the shoe, and those players have the spikeless version of the shoe, which is a whole separate topic that I am working on. But just I can say it, so there you go. Adidas
Well,
is the
let me
pain
ask you
point.
guys let me ask you guys a question. As
Sure.
a person that doesn't care about spikeless or spike shoes.
I'm
Well,
gonna
I
make
should
you
say don't
care.
care. Just don't know anything about them. What performance gains, like when you guys are talking about spikes, you're talking about the soft spikes, right? You're not talking about cleats.
Hmm.
You're talking right? Is that correct? So
Yeah,
Well, no, those count.
anything replaceable, anything that's
Yeah,
replaceable. So if you
anything that's
could
replaceable.
take
Okay.
a cleat out of the shoe and replace it with something else, that's a replaceable cleat. That's what we're
Okay.
talking about.
So what? So talk to me about the performance gains. So you got those in your shoe. And then what happens?
Yeah, so I'm going to throw this out there because this is a study that we did a couple years ago, an independent study where we brought in amateurs, some single handicaps up to, I think, maybe like an 18 handicap. And we had them warm up with their own clubs for as long as they wanted to. And then they wore spikeless golf shoes, so a shoe that has no replaceable cleats in it at all. And they hit, shots with different clubs in their bag. And then we also had them hit and compare it to when they had a cleated shoe, so replaceable cleated shoe. On an average, and these are amateurs, they were gaining up to 5-10 yards with their drivers. And their dispersion pattern came in as well. So if you think of an amateur who isn't hitting the center of the club face every time, like a PGA professional, what do you think the difference would be in their gains that they would receive? Now, we haven't done any testing with any actual tour players, which is something that I think is probably a next step that we'd like to do. But that's the kind of difference that you can see. Guys are looking for those type of advantages when they switch to a different shaft. And it's something that just by having better traction, you're more grounded. You can use the ground forces to create power even better, because you have more elements of traction. And the one thing I like to explain to players is, if when you're talking about cleatless shoes and cleats, and shoes with cleats, is you only have one element of traction when you're using a spikeless golf shoe. If you have a replacement shoes in, you've got the outsole elements of the shoe as well as the cleat working in unison to give you that much more traction. So that's that part. My daily routine, if we want to switch subjects and switch gears, if you guys don't have any more questions on that, I get to the course. Mondays is a travel day, so it's not as important to get there as early. But my Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm at the golf course on average 5 a.m. And what that allows me to do is, guys will leave their golf shoes in their locker or in front of their locker for me to check them and recleat them. And then they're going to be ready to go come Thursday when the first round starts. And guys travel with, there's some guys that only travel with one pair of shoes. Those are the guys that they may, everyone has a different size. They wear their cleats a little bit differently when they walk. So you might have toe spikes on the toe, the top of their shoe that have worn down, or you might have heel, or maybe it's a guy that, they wear very similarly with all the cleats, but if there's just one or two that are looking a little off, I'll rip them all out and put fresh ones on. So it's like, changing tires. They're expensive, but you really want them all to wear the same. So you want them all starting out exactly the same. So instead of you going and replacing one tire, you go ahead and replace all four of them.
So you kind of do the Aaron Dill thing when you walk by everybody's bag and start rubbing your finger across the wedges to see if the grooves are still
absolutely.
Good.
I will go down the range and I will check in with every player that's wearing cleats, and I'll have them lift up his shoes and I'll look at them and I'll show them. I'll point to it and I'll say, hey, yes, you've got a couple worn down. Just make sure you set them in front of your locker. I'll get them when you finish your round today.
I want to ask a question, and Charlie, I need you to just give me a thumbs up, because I'm trying to wrap my head around this, because I don't like. I'm gonna go down. We're gonna go down the FedEx Cup Tour Championship, right?
Okay.
So just for me, for my own context, I'm just curious. So I'm going to go down the names, and you don't have to say it. You don't have to say, you just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. So Tommy Fleetwood, Softspikes, or tell me who's a user and who's not. Okay.
Softspikes.
Cantlay.
Yeah.
Cantlay. Russell Henley. Corey Connors. Scheffler. Cam Young.
What was that one?
Cam Young.
Cam Young. He's a user. So right now we're down to Keegan Bradley.
It's going to take you a while,
7.
Johnny.
Sam Burns. So that's the first 7 on that list. So of the 30 players in the Tour Championship, what, 25 of them had soft spikes on?
27.
That was 27, yeah.
That's a big. Maybe I should get on this.
27 out of 30.
Maybe I should put some. Maybe I should put some. Let me see if I can guess the 30. I would say the 3 that don't would be. Well, Finau didn't play, did he?
He did not.
So he would have been 1.
I've got an interesting tidbit about Finau.
Let me see if I can guess who it is. Will it be Colin Morikawa? No.
Nope.
No.
Collins and Adidas.
Maybe Justin Rose.
Nope.
Would be 1.
No. Justin Rose is in these.
No.
He's in Painters. I don't know. I give up. Never mind. Anyway. All right. Thanks for indulging me. I like, and I feel like a fool, but I always equated soft spikes, and I'll let this go. But like when I hear spikes on the ground, I'm like, oh, that guy wears cleats, like, metal spikes, but I never pay attention to the other thing, and really not even realizing that it was such a choice. Like when you get golf shoes, for example, if I get golf shoes, somebody sends me them, I just, I don't pay attention if they have spikes. I just kind of wear them if I like the way they look on the top. But like the performance situation does make some sense because of the fact that I guess you're more stuck into the ground, using the ground in a more efficient way. I'm assuming is kind of the idea. Well, that's interesting. So I guess, Jake, I need spikes now. Well,
Johnny, I'll throw something else at you too that I want Charles to speak on. This is one of the questions that I was going to ask immediately. Charles, in the back of his head, probably knew I was going to want to talk about this. Charles, what percentage of players don't have the same spike in every slot of their shoes?
Oh, good grief. That is there's definitely 25 to 30% that don't.
So wait, you guys are telling me that there's guys that change out they have different spikes in front and different spikes in the back and the side. There's a whole thing.
Correct. Yes.
No.
We have guys
wild.
that.
It's fun, Johnny.
Yeah. When we do these interactions on the range, or maybe I'm walking on the course with a guy, and he tells me, "Hey, I'm experiencing, my right foot slipping in transition. What can I do?" And depending on what kind of cleat he's wearing, a lot of times, unfortunately, he's wearing the cleat that came in the shoe. And this is probably something that I should explain too. A lot of companies, that the cleat that comes on the bottom of their shoes is what they would call more green friendly cleat, that is not necessarily high performance, but it's something that's comfortable. Now that has changed a little bit. Some of the newer companies that have come out, they're going with more aggressive cleats, because they want more of what guys are actually wearing in their shoe to start with. So that's something that's going on too. But you might have a guy that is slipping, and that might start with a more aggressive soft spike. If for some reason that doesn't fix the problem, they might graduate to the most aggressive thing that we can do, and that's a metal hybrid cleat. So it's got some soft spike elements, but also a metal stud in the middle, and that equivocally always fixes the problem.
And
now, with that said,
that would be your what's the name of that? Because I'm on your site right now. That would be your what? What do they call that? It's not the pins or the small metal.
It's called it's still on the Fast Twist 3.0 insert system, but it's called what are you talking about? The cleat, the metal cleat, or the
I'm talking about the metal
cleat?
The pro stingers. The pro stingers.
Yeah, the pro stingers. Yeah, that's what we call them, pro stingers.
I want some pro stingers.
Well, see, here's the thing. Unless you're on tour, you can't wear them at your golf course. Somebody hears you walk in, they will grab you and say, "Hey, sir, we're a soft spikes only facility. Yeah. You can't,
Well, that's just not this. It's not. It's okay. Well, it just killed my dream.
But with that said, that's why we came out with our new cleat, the Tour Flex Pro. We have had players that have worn metal in the past that have switched to the Tour Flex Pro cleat. And I'm not going to mention any names, but I will tell you that 2 of the most recent Masters winners are guys that used to wear metal and now wear Torflex Pro Cleat.
How do you get Charlie? How do you? So if a
Mm-hmm.
guy has a Nike shoe,
Okay.
you can put one of your cleats on the bottom. Is the only one you can't put it on the bottom of is an Adidas?
Well, here's the thing. So we work on the engineering side. We work with all the OEM shoe manufacturers from the ground up and try and match whatever outsole elements that they're going to use on that cleat with a cleat that works for them. Adidas, I want to say back in, boy, this is probably 2000, I want to say like 11 time frame. I might be a little bit, it could be a couple of years before that. They actually, every manufacturer wants to differentiate themselves, but they were also doing a lot of studying on when you're closer to the ground, the benefits of you being able not only to feel that ground, but also use the ground forces. So they came to us and asked us, okay, what can we do to get a player lower to the ground? And the pins insert system allows that to happen. We have since come out with, and I wish I had two cleats to show you, and it'd be really hard to see here, but the pin system is very, very thin. The amount of, it's millimeters, but how much it goes into the bottom of the shoe versus, like, say, our fast twist, our first original fast twist, and you'd actually feel higher if you put a cleat on. So that was part of their way of doing that to differentiate themselves from other manufacturers, but also to help with that.
This is. Can I say something? This
Yeah.
is okay, because this is something.
This is so
Hold on,
good.
I'm trying to wrap my head around all this stuff. Sorry.
I
That's
love
okay.
that. I love this so
But
much.
what I can say is that any shoe created after, I believe it's 2016,
Yeah.
is, with the exception of Adidas, is Fast Twist 3.0. So the only thing it means is that if you wear Adidas shoes, you don't have as many cleat options to put in
Right.
there. That's the only difference. If you're Fast Twist 3.0, which is all the rest of the brands, you can put any cleat that we make in there because we make them all in that Fast Twist 3.0.
Are we so what you guys, so what you both are telling me is that there's times when a guy, like, if I had Rombo a pair of True Link shoes and he's used to
Mm-hmm.
wearing your spikes and he just puts the True Links on and starts hitting balls or whatever, he can just go, I need my different spikes. These ones don't feel right. I need my other, like, it's that
Yeah.
gnarly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He could be like, you know what? The outsole of the shoe doesn't have as many there's not as many elements of traction on it. And I can feel the firmness of the cleat. So I want something softer, and we can do that. Or there could be a guy that says, you know what, these feel too soft. And I'm slipping. I don't feel like I've got the traction. Okay, then we'll go aggressive, and we'll put something that's firmer, that provides extra traction. So
So I need like a pair. See, I need like a real pair of golf shoes now. Like, I need like a pair I could put some spikes in, because all the ones I wear are
yeah,
like tennis shoes, right? They're like
mm-hmm.
runners.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But but for a player, sorry, now you guys just cracked my whole brain open. Is there an injury prevention mechanism to this whole thing too, for people that use spikes? Is it better for your back? Is it better for your? Go ahead. Yes, Jake.
Hold on. I have an answer to this that I don't think Charles can say. So was it 2 years ago? 3 years ago? A high profile player at the Masters Par 3 competition, either 2 or 3 years ago,
Mm.
uh, rolled his ankle and got injured in a pair of spikeless golf shoes. That would not have happened had he been wearing spike footwear.
Well, we all know who you're talking about, and he was the one player that I know that doesn't wear spikes. He wears basketball shoes, essentially.
He wears a
Um,
he wears a special version of that shoe. Actually, even he
but
he
what
wears a version
about
of that shoe that you can't buy at retail.
But what about for torque and stuff like that? If you have a more I don't know, solid base, we'll call it, when you have spikes in there, if you're locked in there, because I can go back to when I used to wear FootJoy Classics and they had nails in the end of them, and there's a noticeable difference. I mean, you're locked in. Like once you set up, you ain't moving, so you're
I can
turning around a pretty tight piston.
I can tell you a couple things. I can tell you that some other high profile players, one in particular, for a little while had started to go away from wearing metal cleats. And his doctor was telling him that it could cause injuries to his back or his knees. So that's why
Interesting.
he had changed, but he has since gone back to wearing metal because that's what he feels most comfortable with and feels that gives him the best chance to, perform the best. But I will also tell you this: there have been two instances that I can recall um, in major championships that a guy has slipped and he's been wearing metal. One was a winner of a Open championship, and I believe he slipped. Was coming in. I think it was like on the 16th hole, and I think he ended up going in a playoff. And then the other one wasn't the eventual winner of that, but it was on 15 at Augusta. He's in the middle of fairway, and he slipped, and it was wild because the announcers were like, did you see him slip? Like he must not be wearing metal. I'd be wearing metal if I was playing out there. And turned out this player was wearing metal. So what that says is if you transfer weight a little bit wrong, maybe make a bad swing, could be on a side hill, downhill lie. There's a chance that you can slip. It's not necessarily going to happen, but that's the whole reason why you need the extra traction to make sure that you're limiting those times when it happens.
Well, the funny thing is, it's not necessarily the elimination of slipping; it's the psychological effect of knowing you're not going to slip. I guess would be where the performance would
Correct.
come from. Is the
Yeah.
fact that you know that you can swing it as hard as you can, and your feet aren't going anywhere. Um,
Yes.
okay, okay,
Yeah, the other thing there too, Johnny. So like the reason you saw me switch these out, which first off, that it's that easy. It took me 45 seconds during a podcast to switch these out. Is I see this setup all the time. So you get a nail, like you get nails or pro stingers or metals, whatever you want to call them, in this what I call the last bit or the last line of defense on for your slipping. Basically, is in these two parts. A lot of times I'll see it guys that they just have one spike. It's just one metal and a bunch of Tourflex pros in this area, and the way it was described to me is that the development of the Tourflex Pro is essentially a polymer pro stinger surrounded by secondary elements of rotational or dynamic traction so that you're not only placed in the ground but you're also kind of screwing yourself into the ground because a lot of golfers think that on your back foot, and I made a video about this a while ago, but your back foot doesn't actually pivot like this. It leans into itself and rises. So there's one spike that if it doesn't exist on the bottom of your shoes, and most companies have taken care of that placement, that spike is kind of your last line of defense because of the way that your back foot actually moves during the golf swing. And that's why a lot of times you'll still see that single one provide all the downforce traction of a metal pro stinger, whereas the Tourflex Pro has started to take over because of the idea of having secondary traction elements and also rotational traction elements that give you a second line of defense while the pro stinger still fights through debris for you, because that's the primary purpose of those, is to go through leaves and grass that didn't get picked up and other stuff that's in the way of your foot to the actual playing surface. And at least that's the way it was described to me. Obviously, Charles, please chime in. But I think that's the cool part about like the combo setness of the spikes is, like, I did mine based out of feel. So I wish I had the shoes up here, but I do Silver Tornadoes and Tourflex Pros, which on the list of traction are the highest two, but they're very different profile spikes. So I like having the Tourflex Pros in the front and the Silver Tornadoes in the back because it allows me to feel a little bit of shift between my foot. So I really drive into that front side and I'm locked in regardless of what my like foot lie is. I guess that's not a word, but we're going to call it one. But to me, it's a comfort thing, and it's a nice little feel thing within my swing that kind of triggers my downswing. But yeah, I was the same reaction you're having right now, Johnny, is the same reaction I had to the first time I talked to the Softspikes guys, and then when I talked to Charles on tour the first time, I was beside myself with some of the things that he was explaining to me happen out there with just these little things that go in the bottom of your feet.
I don't like. I'm trying to simplify my life, and
Mm-hmm.
and Jake, that's some of the dorkiest shit I've ever heard in my life, and I was literally attached to every single word that you said. So kudos for that explanation because it was very interesting. Um, but like, I don't want any new things in my life. I don't want to be. I don't want to start chasing spikes around. But now it's like now I have to have the spikes because Charlie said I can get 10 yards longer.
Yeah,
Jake's calling them the greatest thing ever. So now now I got
you hit it
like
out of the middle of the face more often,
now I have FOMO. So now I feel like I've been wasting good play for the last 8 years because I've been wearing tennis shoes.
pretty much.
Well,
So
here's the other thing, Johnny. When you replace the cleats in your shoe, it extends the life of your golf shoe too.
I know, but
Just
see,
just throwing it out
I'm
there.
kind, but I know I'm gonna give you a real douchebag answer though.
Yeah.
We get free shoes. Like this is a bullshit answer. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna keep it 100. We get shoes like they get thrown at you, so it's like I never think about that, and I should because
Yeah.
it's gonna be humbling the day that this faucet turns off, and it's gonna happen, and I'm
Yes.
it's gonna happen. So, but like I'm looking at it more from a things to notice perspective. Like I never thought of that stuff before. Like when you start to get into real golf performance stuff, I'm so fixated on drivers and wedges and irons and stuff like that, and that the knowledge of what's important in those platforms has changed. I never thought turf interaction was a thing. I didn't think it was that important. I didn't think dynamic lie angle was that big of a deal. 5-6 years ago, but now these are all things that over the last 4.5, 5 years are necessity. Like those are the first things I look at to see if a golf club's working. Um, but what you guys are talking about with spikes, one, it makes a ridiculous amount of sense. But two, I just didn't understand the level of I don't want to say technology, but the level of thought that went into that. We would be talking to Travis Matthew guys when I was with Callaway, and they'd be talking about developing a shoe for Rombo or Sam, and they'd be talking about this insert and that. I'm like, it's a fucking shoe. Like the guy needs an 11. Like Rombo needs one that's a 10.5 and one that's an 11.5 because he's got club foot. Like what else? Just can't you just do it? But it's way more detailed than that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
so anyway, but I do want to get we got to have Charlie back on because you've got 9 companies to talk about. But I do really quickly before we run out of time because I think we've covered super soft spikes.
Mm-hmm.
We got it all out of the way. Okay, so now I want
Yeah.
to talk a little bit about Bushnell,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously I'm assuming what happened with Rusty. I think you took over after Rusty, um, with what happened
Passed away.
there. Yeah,
Sure.
passed away. I didn't want to say it out loud, but and if anybody didn't know Rusty, he was a man we all loved very much, and
We
he has
did.
since passed on. But he was the Bushnell rep for a long time. But what's the marketplace out there like? And I've never asked you this before, but like being in that business out on tour, what is the business out there on tour? I mean, is it just getting these guys to use them in practice rounds and at home? Like, what's the marketing opportunity for Bushnell out on the PGA Tour, knowing that these guys aren't using them on the golf course?
Yeah. Well,
They should be, but
it's part of preparation.
right.
There are lots of calculations that a player and caddy do before before a player commits to a shot. But the use of the rangefinder helps them when they prep. And then obviously they did, I don't know if you recall, they did do a test run um, trying to see if it would help speed up play. I think, I don't know if we've actually come to realize exactly what is going to happen, but um, for all intents and purposes, players that I've talked to feel like that might be something that is going to help. I mean, if you hit an errant shot and you're trying to speed up play, well, if you have a rangefinder, you can shoot that yardage right from where you're at and not have to go find a sprinkler head and run up there and then take your steps and then calculate it, like win. But I mean, from a marketing standpoint, just seeing um, our Bushnell case on television
Yeah.
when a guy's carrying it, that's
Yeah.
huge. You know?
So I look at yardage guns, and a lot of it's on me because I lose them constantly. Like I could get
Hmm.
one. I'm that guy that puts it on. I magnetize it to the golf cart, and I leave, and I grab my fucking car keys and all my stuff, and I'm gone. And I guarantee 9 times out of 10, I'm getting a call saying, "Hey, your rangefinder's here." So, but
If
coming
you get
from
that call.
huh?
Yeah.
I've gotten that call. Yeah, it's terrible. Um, but another growing up, 48. So where I grew up, it was yardage markers. Everything was based on the 150 marker, and you're going from 150 to the middle, and everything was to the middle of the green. Um, as far as the technology around that, I know Bushnell, that conglomerate, owns Quad as Foresight as well. If I remember correctly, I think it's all the same company. Is there a
Yes.
world where Quad and Bushnell interact somehow to where
We
you're
live in that
getting
world, Johnny.
Yeah, we're living in that world now. So our new uh, Pro X3 Plus Link
okay,
rangefinder, and actually all the Pro X3 models. Um, so even this is basically the third generation. If their technology has been updated, they can link up to the GC Quad or the Launch Pro. What it will
got
allow
it.
you to do is actually, and this is something that's I think really good for amateurs, because amateurs tend to think that they hit the ball farther than they do. And it's
Right,
not a knock on them. It's just when they hit the center of club face, they hit it so much farther than if their miss hits. But what it allowed them to do is create what's called a my bag. And they can go through a session. And I think it's best to hit like 6-10 shots with each club. And this is where, the Bushnell rangefinder and the Launch Pro or the GC3 Quad, they link together, and you're hitting shots. And once you hit them, you take some of the good and bad. So your miss hits, maybe they go 10 yards shorter, or whatever it may be, but it gives you a nice average. And then after you're all said and done, when you shoot your laser, it's actually going to say, oh, okay, this is a 220 shot you usually hit. Say it's a 3-iron. But with the extra elements and the conditions, it's going to say, oh, no, you want to hit a 4-iron this time, or no, you need to go up and hit a 5-wood.
right.
So it's really neat. So
So
Yeah, so
neat.
that's
yeah, let
that's
me.
it. That's interesting because it's again, and that's why I was excited to have Chuck, because two of the things that you sell are two of the things that I don't want to say pay attention to. I just don't
Mhm.
I I don't use it, right. Like I don't use a lot of rangefinders because somebody always have one, so I don't dig into them that hard. So the fact that you guys are already integrated with Quad, like I went way over my head because it's not something I actually look at. But again, it's all really interesting. I mean, I guess I'll ask you. I mean, Jake, sorry to cut you off. This will be a quick one. But when it comes to the PGA Tour and usage, is Bushnell by far, like, who's your competition out there? Is like Precision Pro? Is that your competition?
Yeah, with tour players, I mean, it is one of our competitors. I can tell you this: the algorithm that we use to get our yardages, we can say it's within a yard, and it's patented. So
Gotcha.
anybody else on the market here, I don't know what algorithm they use, but it can't be the same one.
Yours is pretty
So
dialed. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's the most accurate rangefinder on the market. And the proof of that is that we've got more tour uses than any other rangefinder company. I think we did we did some Daryl survey stuff earlier in the year, and all I'll say is it's in the 90-some%.
See, isn't it funny, Jake? The stuff, like when you think about the busiest reps on tour, like if you think about usage, Charlie, I bet you cover more real estate player to player than any rep on tour.
Never
Like as
thought
far
about
as
that.
as far as usage, like your products and what players on the PGA Tour use. You show up to work on a Monday, and you have 100 widgets to sell. you're giving away 98 of your widgets every week, where a shaft rep can't say that. A club rep definitely can't say that. It's interesting. I've never put it in that context before, but the amount of product that you cycle through on a week to week basis is actually quite humbling. Because I always just see you running around, right? You never, it's like you don't realize how busy trucks are until you work on a truck, and then you're like, Jesus Christ, these guys are super busy. I had no concept of the volume of stuff that you were putting out until just literally now. Like I never thought of it. Like it's very impressive. Go ahead, Jake.
Well,
I cut you off a
thank
couple
you.
minutes ago. You had a question. I'm sorry about that.
No, so first thing, just immediately after what you're saying, yeah, Charles is never. I don't know if I've ever seen Charles stop for more than about 60 seconds. Usually, he's stopping because it's hard to text and walk at the same time because he's trying to find somebody else. That's usually when I see Charles stop, is he's trying to find somebody and he's communicating with somebody to find that somebody. No, the other thing is going back to the Bushnell integration. So Johnny, like I'll give you a perfect example. So I can hear in my bay at home, I can hit my entire bag on my Quad Max and then upload that bag assessment through the app into a my bag. And then I can take that data and I can sync it into my rangefinder. And then when I'm at Players Cup this weekend, my rangefinder will take into account the fact that I'm in Tampa at Players Cup, and it will adjust my yardage suggestion based on the clubs that I hit in
Wait,
a
what?
normalized setting. Yeah, dude, this is wild. There's some crazy stuff that happens in this
Wait,
integration.
what?
Yeah, so it'll take my rangefinder will take the wind, the barometric settings, so
Like
elevation
that part I
and
know, but like it doesn't like
yeah,
my. I've only had Precision Pros. I've never had a Bushnell,
that's a
and I've
bummer.
lost 4 of them. So they're like they don't obviously they don't
Ouch.
stick around. They don't stick around. I mean, literally every year I've gotten a Precision Pro or a yardage gun, and I like as sure as the sun will fucking shine, it gets left on a golf cart and it's gone. Like there's one at Toronto Golf Club that I just got at a golf tournament, brand new one, fully pimped out one. It's some cart kid has it at Toronto Golf Club now. It's gone. I'm never going to see it again.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
so it'll pick clubs for you. Like what?
Yeah.
yeah. It'll pick clubs for you based
That
on
is
the
some
location that you're
nerdy. That
playing
is
at.
some crazy shit. I had no clue. I had
Yeah,
no idea. In the comment section,
it's
people are like, "We get it, Johnny. You don't pay attention to stuff like I'm gonna get that a lot in this podcast.
yeah.
I don't care. This is legitimately like, I just
That's why I'm
found
here.
H2O for the first time. Like, what? It does fire? That's what I feel like. Okay, we got a couple minutes left. We're gonna ask some general questions to our friend here. Uh, let's start with the bag. Charlie, how much golf are you playing?
Wow. Well, I am one of those guys that is just a complete golf nut. So when I get done work on Monday and Tuesday evening, guess where I'm going? Driving range, or I'm going and playing somewhere. And this is every week. I mean, I think the beginning of the year when you don't have as much daylight, and even the West Coast with some of the traffic leaving golf courses, I maybe don't take my clubs to all of them, but that's on the West Coast. But after I get done with that, like they are going on the airplane with me wherever I go, and I'm going and I'm going to play when I get done work. That's
I
just
love
how it
that.
is.
Who do you play? Who do you play with? It's sick invite, by the way.
I
Um,
I got to play with
I'll
him, and
play
just so
with.
everybody knows, Charles is a very good golfer.
Well, that's
Oh,
great. Thanks for the
thank you.
invite, Charlie. Appreciate it.
I'll play with some caddies.
Yeah.
If our schedule matches up, they're done. I play with caddies, sometimes golf coaches that are out there, other reps that are as crazy as me and
Like what
want to go out and play.
what reps are going out and playing? Like if I was, let me see if I can guess. Let me see if I can guess a few of them. I feel like Scooter and Arnie Cunningham feel like they're after work golfers. Is that 2 of
They
them?
they they, they do at times.
Okay.
Yes, Nico
I can,
will come out
okay.
sometimes.
I can't see.
Um,
I cannot see anybody in the Titleist truck playing golf after hours. I guarantee none of the Callaway guys are playing golf.
I
Taylor made no.
Occasionally, I can get a Mizuno guy out once in a blue
I could
moon.
see I could see Hammoner's Cookie sneaking out there if the wind
Yep.
hit him right. I can
Yeah,
see Adam Harding and maybe Dylan Goodwin from Ping sneaking out. Like they have that vibe.
yeah. All the big companies, and I'll probably say the exception being, I'm going to say the exception being, I think TaylorMade and probably Callaway. I think that all the rest of the manufacturers will get out here and there, but it's sporadic. Like, you know, it's not consistent at all, but maybe like specific spots on tour, they
Right,
know that they're going to be able to get 9 holes in,
we're all the, especially if there's a bunch of banger courses around. The funny thing about everybody that works in the
Correct.
PGA Tour is there's none of those like woke. I just want to play golfers. Like everybody out there is a golf snob. So like you could be in a town and be like, hey, there's a Muni right across the street. They're like, yeah, great. Quail Hall is an hour away. We're gonna go to Quail Hall. Like that's how it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And I will say this too. I mean, we are very, I mean, it's super nice. I mean, if you're in the golf industry, um, there's usually some sort of golf industry standard that happens around the country.
yeah,
Especially if you call in advance. But a lot of times you'll get invites, especially at the courses that we actually visit on a year basis, and we
right.
can't ever
Yeah.
take advantage of them because the only time we're in town is the week of the tournament.
Week of the
So,
golf tournament. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I got invited before the U.S. Open in Oakmont and after the U.S. Open. They're like, "Hey, come on out and play!" Like, and I'm like, I was just there, and I'm not going to be anywhere near Oakmont for another 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't do
Yep.
golf trips. Okay, so what's in the bag? We got a couple minutes left. So what clubs are you playing? I mean, you have access to every truck out there. So like, give me the bag vibes.
Well, I like to try and give everybody a little love because I think,
You're,
there's a lot of great equipment out there. I've
Wait, real
got,
quick,
let's see.
Charles. Hold on, real quick, Charles. Real quick.
Yes,
First off, what side of the ball do you stand on?
I'm a lefty. I'm
oh,
right-handed,
so
but I play
okay.
lefty.
So cut all the
So
cool.
Okay,
Cut
I
all.
play on the right side.
Yeah, cut all the cool shit in half. They don't make all the
yeah.
cool. They don't make any of the cool shit for left-handers.
Okay,
All right,
sorry.
what else
You
you
can
got in there?
continue.
Let's see. I've got TaylorMade QI10 driver. I've got a Cobra 4 wood. I have a Callaway driving 3 iron, and then a mix of Mizuno irons, 4 iron to 9 iron, and then Cleveland wedges, 48, 50, 54, and 60, and a
Guarantee
Scotty
has a
Cameron
lap.
putter.
I was gonna say guarantee. I was gonna say guarantee he has a lap,
Yeah,
but he's not a lap.
the Scotty Cameron putter. In fact, I bought in 1997 when I was working at a golf store, and I still
Is it
have
one of
it in
the
the bag.
original black? Is it one of the original black ones, like the OGs?
Bl- Black Newport. Yep, carbon
Wasn't that
finish.
isn't
That black finish.
the prettiest like that was? So I had one of those.
Uh,
I had a Newport. It's still to this day getting it with that royal grip on it, and like it was. And Jake, you're too young for this, but like when Scotty Cameron first hit the market,
mhm.
there are these plain just black, milled putters, and on the shelf
I remember seeing this.
they were captivating, like because there was nothing because ping kind of dominated back then, like it was just ping ping ping
Mhm.
ping ping, and then you get to like where all the cush shit is, and you get to where the Scotty, and most of the time they were behind the counter. If you went to like a Roger Dunn, or if you went to a golf shop, because everybody'd steal them, you would have all your Scotty Camerons behind the counter, and then you'd have your 1, 2, or 3 like little one-offs that they would send, like their limited drops. That was the first time I ever saw that.
Mhm.
The Duval, remember the Duval putter, Charlie? So
Oh
like
yeah.
there was the two greatest things ever back in the day was getting your hands on a Scotty Cameron, taking it home, and like bringing it inside and like hitting putts in the kitchen was one, and two is
Mhm.
during Christmas time if you're lucky enough to either get a box of like tour baladas, like that black Titleist box, or you get
Yep.
a gold box of HT 100 Maxfly
Yeah,
baladas.
Max
If
Live.
you got
Yes.
if you got and if you were really poshy, you get Rexstars, and then Precept EV Extra Spin came out, but you were balling if your folks got you a box of Bellatas or a box of HT100s. You're going out to do some shit the next day, like some
Did you
fun
did
stuff's
you ever
happening.
play did you ever play the Schlesinger Bellata?
Oh God, yeah. It was the
Yeah, that was another one.
softest thing ever. It was the softest thing ever. But that's
Yeah.
do you know what, Jake? Actually, that's a good video idea. We got to get our hands on some old balls, like from like the mid '90s, and just put them through the ringer, like just to find out. I guarantee some of those balls, maybe not on ball speed and like launch and spin, but I guarantee on like efficiency from like 150 yards in, they're as good or better than half of the balls that are out there now.
Yeah, it'll be
Like
pretty
that.
Have you
cool to
ever
see golf played with those balls again.
Oh my
have you
God.
ever heard of
Yeah.
the Tony Jacqueline TJ 90 Plus?
I've seen that box before. So there's a guy who now works for Callaway. He used to work for Titleist, and his name is Nick. Pretty sure it's Nick or Nate.
Okay.
And have you ever done the Titleist ball plant, Charlie? Have you ever been
I
through
have
there
not.
before? Okay.
Uh-uh.
So one, if you're in media or if you're from another company, you walk through their ball plant, it's the most intimidating. You realize how small you are within minutes, and it's by design, because you walk through the offices or whatever, and then you get to this hallway, and it's probably 150 yards long, straight down, straight shot, and every inch of the wall is covered with patents that Titleist owns. I mean, it's
Wow.
you think of it. I mean, dimple patterns and this and all this stuff. So you walk through, and then you walk around the room, or you walk around the hall, and to the left there's this little door, and it's this guy in a lab coat, and he's got every single golf ball from the last 25 or 30 years, brand new. That's the
Ooh.
lab. That's where he takes and cuts things open and tests to see who's making what ball. And so it's almost like seeing a wine sommelier, right? You walk in there and you hold up a glass of wine, and like, so you'll hold up the core of a golf ball to this guy, and he'll look at it and study it and go, yeah, that's Wilson, TXG 1999. That was made in Alabama. And he'll start rattling off all the other golf balls that are made in the same plant. So we're standing there in this room, and this guy now works for Callaway, so he runs the same racket during the Callaway tours in Massachusetts. So we're standing there, and there's this big wall of golf balls that are out in the market now, and it's like Volvic, and it's all these golf balls. There's multiple, and the price ranges, because he had the price tags on them all, were anywhere from $60 to $15. And there's probably 12 boxes of golf balls on the wall. And he points to me. He's like, what do you know about all those golf balls? I'm like, I don't know anything about any of those golf balls. He's like, well, I said, I know one of them's $60 a dozen and the other one's $12 a dozen. He's like, yeah, what if I told you those are all the same golf balls, just with different boxes? And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah,
Wow.
those are all the same golf ball, made in the same plant, just more bougie boxing, but they're all the same golf ball. And I was like, so my point is, my question to you is, for the stuff that you do, is it contained to the company? Is there any other companies out there that are making Softspikes? Like, if you guys have so much control over the marketplace, like who's your competition, or is there competition?
So right now there isn't. I don't know if you've heard of McNeil Engineering, but they
Mm-mm.
were the manufacturers of Champ Spikes. So we were at war, so to speak, with each other for quite a long time since Softspikes came out. And then in the fall of 2016, we acquired McNeil Engineering, or Champ Spikes, and it's underneath our umbrella now. Now the kicker to that is Champ Spikes still, that side of our business still is the number one like replaceable cleat in field sports. They own that side of the market. We were kind of the owners, if you will, of the market share as being the number one OEM cleat on the Obama shoe in the golf side. So when we came together, that marriage is basically we are the only one out there at the moment. Yes.
What a
So
show
so
this
if you
was.
so yeah, so if you go out and buy a pair of golf shoes and it has replaceable cleats on it, guess what? It's a Softspike branded cleat or Champ branded cleat.
Yeah.
Yep.
I will
Yeah, I
say
think
this, and we're gonna go ahead, Jake.
No, I think that's an important thing to talk about, and this is something, again, like I'm so excited to share with the fully equipped audience and the golf.com audience in general, just like some of these insights that I've gotten to spikes, because I've just been introduced to the ability to ask some wild questions to the team over there. But so McNeil Engineering is a huge is a larger part of the golf space than is probably describable because of the amount of work that they do with the OEMs of these shoes. And like, for example, like Adidas is a really good example. Their spike that comes in the shoes that are branded Adidas were developed in collaboration with the Softspikes team. So even those ones are Softspikes category spikes. Whether I have angst against Adidas for using pins still or not, like they went out of their way to make a spike that works for the shoe profile that they're looking for. But it's like they're still using McNeil and the Softspikes team to do that. They're not, like, at this point, from what I understand at least, is nobody's even trying independently to figure this out because McNeil has such a stronghold on the engineering side of this tech and of this market. Um, so it's a really cool, from an industrial design standpoint, it's a really cool rabbit hole to go down with McNeil and all the work that they do, because like the insert system itself has to go in an outsole. So that means that there needs to be feedback on the actual outsole performance and the outsole design of these shoes. And that's with the engineers and the teams of designers at the shoe OEMs working again in collaboration with, McNeil. Like there's a whole other rabbit hole to this from an engineering standpoint that goes past the actual spikes themselves. And it's, again, like you said, Johnny, we'll have to have Charles on again, but yeah, this is, if you guys can't tell listening to this or watching this, like how geeked I get about this, it's because my introduction into this was the guys from Softspikes reached out to me. I was using a very, very comfortable and what I thought was a very good pair of Under Armour Hover knits that I loved. Great looking shoe, not waterproof one bit, but I was using those. They reached out. They were like, "Hey, do you want to make some videos about spikes?" And I was like, "I don't know spikes, so I can't really help you out." And then the one guy who's now a good friend of mine, Sean, who works over there, he pretty much told me, he's like, "Yeah, you're just like you're straight up not playing your best golf if you're wearing those shoes." So he let me independently test it and like work through it and stuff, and basically everything that I was weary about, or like everything that I thought was like just marketing or numbers he was trying to throw at me from studies that they created themselves, was what was in my head. Everything was true. So at that moment forward, I became like the Softspikes guy on the internet for golf equipment, and I cannot wait to continue to share that info because it's so cool. But I get, every time we have these little discussions and these little things come out, like the combo packs of spikes, which, by the way, just to throw a big name out there, Scotty still uses the Nike combo of Silver Tornado Tourflex Pro, right?
No,
Or is he all Tourflex Pro?
he's all Tourflex Pro.
So he switched. He did switch. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
then is Rory in the combo, or did he switch too?
Nope, he's an all Tourflex Pro.
Yeah, see, that's incredible, and just goes to show you the spike. But yeah, anyhow, I digress. I'm
well,
chatting
this
too
is
much
just.
about this
I mean,
journey.
we're gonna end it here. I'll say this. I had no idea this is what it was. Like, I know that there's spikes, and I'm starting to think
It's
back
neat.
in time to like the time that I actually wore spikes, and it was like, if I had a pair of Jordan when Jordan first came out with golf shoes, some of them had spikes and some of them didn't. I played a lot of good
Right.
rounds. Some of my best rounds that I've played were with the Jordans that had spikes in them, and now I'm starting to be like, well, fuck, maybe it was the spikes. So now I have to go. Now I have to look at my golf. Like there's a whole new thing I have to worry about now. So anyway, Charlie, you're
I'm here
probably
to
gonna
help
get
you.
some text from me for some spikes. By the way, I just don't. I gotta get shoes that you can
Absolutely.
actually stick spikes in. But this is
Fire away, my brother.
a whole nother rabbit hole that I just never saw coming. Anyway, Charles Woodward, old friend. Always love seeing you, bud.
Yes,
Thanks for coming on the
having me
Fully
on.
Equipped podcast. Yeah, it was a. We're gonna have to have you back on. It's just there's not enough time. But at some point, we're gonna have to do this and talk about the other 9 companies that you work with. So,
love it. Sounds great.
well, that's Fully Equipped episode 301. Me, Jake, and Mr. Charlie Woodward. Thanks for following along, and we are out of here.